Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, once again, Afghanistan is in the spotlight. Afghanistan in the spotlight in the context of Pakistan in the night of Saturday and Sunday carried out precision airstrikes against terrorist hideouts. Pakistan carried out these strikes when all options were exhausted. Pakistan has seen deadly terrorist attacks in the heart of Islamabad at a religious gathering at a masjid in the suburbs of Islamabad. Then there have been deadly attack in Bannu, then in Bajor, and then there was another attack few months back again in Islamabad. So during the investigation, it was established that links of these all terrorist attacks goes back to Afghan territory, where TTP and where other terrorist organizations collaborate with each other, plan and execute these deadly attacks against Pakistan. In today's conversation, we would like to examine and analyze that whether Pakistan has achieved the purpose of carrying out these strikes as as it has been said by the Pakistani government that over 100 terrorists were eliminated. This and all associated issues, along with this security and counter-terrorism operation which Pakistan is carrying out, we are fortunate to have with us Pakistan's former ambassador, Mansoor Ahmed Khan. Ambassador Mansoor Ahmed Khan served at a very historic time in Afghanistan. He was witness to the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan and many more things. And in the initial days, he had been frequently meeting Afghan Taliban leadership as well. Ambassador Mansoor Ahmed Khan Saab, very warm welcome in Program Insight in
Thank you.
Videos
Thank you.
English.
Thank you very much.
So,
Thank you.
it's a pleasure to have you in our program. How you see Pakistan's recent airstrikes against terrorist hideouts at a time when Afghanistan is propagating baseless propaganda against Pakistan that the target were civilians and children, but Pakistan made it clear that targets were only and only terrorist organization and their top leaders. Ambassador
That
Mansoor.
Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan has been targeting Pakistani security authorities, Pakistani civilian installations in terrorist attacks for past many years now. However, since the Taliban takeover in August 2021, and in particularly in last 2-3 years, the number of terrorist attacks has increased and intensified. And as a result of since the number of terrorist attacks have been increasing, and Pakistan's approaches or Pakistan's requests to Afghan Taliban or the Afghan government were not bringing any results. So Pakistan also started following this strategy or tactics of targeting wherever intelligence was that terrorist camps are there in Afghan on Afghan soil of the TTP. Pakistan has been targeting them. Now it is, I think, there has been in last 2 years 4 or 5 strikes, and this perhaps was the biggest strike where more camps were targeted. It is difficult to say what will be the result or immediate result or long-term result of the strikes. Pakistani authorities have claimed, and they have also released figures that they have undertaken these very precision strikes based on intelligence of these camps, and they have also even released the names of the terrorist camps they have targeted in Nangarhar, in some in Khost, and some in Paktika. And these are the actually Afghan eastern provinces in eastern Afghanistan, where traditionally TTP's strength has been based. TTP, whenever they have been trying to use Afghan soil as a fallback, their concentration has been in these provinces or provinces surrounding them. So there has not been a detailed reaction yet from the Afghan side. They have, yes, under Zabihullah Mujahid has said that they will respond to Pakistan's actions. But now it will have to be seen, because at the moment, Pakistan's diplomatic engagement with Afghanistan is frozen. Pakistan's border with Afghanistan is
It's
closed
close.
for trade or for movement of people. Pakistan is also sending Afghans back, all those Afghans who have been living illegally here, or
They're being sent
those who
back,
have completed
exactly.
their stay, they are being sent back. So all kinds of pressure has been applied, and over and above that, Pakistan is also undertaking these strikes. So we will have to see. My own view is that yes, Pakistan is applying pressure, but somehow channels of communication will have to be opened. How these are opened? Recently, we saw that after Qatar and Turkey, Pakistan and Afghanistan used good offices of Saudi Arabia, and I
True.
think some ice has been melting under Saudi contacts. We saw the release of Pakistani soldiers detained by Afghans recently. Some visits also from Pakistan of Jamaat-e-Islami and JUI leaderships took place. So let's see. I think some diplomatic melting of ice will also be required.
Condemnation by Indian Ministry of External Affairs of these strikes, which were purely meant against terrorists. Why India is jumping into this thing and interfering into Pakistan's internal security matters by supporting Taliban and by condemning these strike? What India wanted to get by doing so?
I think this is a clear indication of benefits that India gets when Pakistan and Afghanistan are at loggerheads with each other, or engagement between Pakistan and Afghanistan is at a very low level, or
Hmm.
there is any kind of escalation between Pakistan and Afghanistan, because then India tries to utilize that space in Afghanistan against Pakistan, both
Hmm.
in terms of narrative as well as whenever it gets an opportunity to support the assets that are working against Pakistan on Afghan soil, it also utilizes those opportunities. So it was understandable.
Hmm.
Although it is a matter between Pakistan and Afghanistan and the two countries, this is their own bilateral issue. They should have. It would have been, preferable that both Pakistan and Afghanistan should be addressing the issue of strikes, as well as how to, deal with the post-strike situation. And there is no need of an intervention by another regional country, India, which already has a track record of supporting anti-Pakistan elements from Afghan soil. Its national security advisor, its prime minister, and its other leaders have also been making harsh statements against Pakistan, while supporting Afghanistan. So it is not a credible statement in that sense, because India
Hmm.
would not let any opportunity go away. I think Pakistan should actually Pakistan and Afghanistan both should focus
Hmm.
their attention on the actual subject, how to combat terrorism, cross-border
Hmm.
terrorism, that has continued to affect this part of the world, that has continued to affect both countries for now decades. First during the jihad years, then during the Taliban insurgency, and now when Afghan Taliban are in government, why terrorist incidents in Pakistan are on an increase. And this question will have to be addressed at some point in time by the two countries. If they continue to fail, then we'll continue to see escalation taking place between the two neighbors.
So actually, what went wrong with Afghan Taliban, who were initially friendly with Pakistan, but now they are also dancing on Indian tunes? Likewise, their predecessor, Mr. Ashraf Ghani.
Although Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and Afghan Taliban are two independent entities, two entities different from each other, but they
Hmm.
also have very close ideological linkages. When Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan was formed, its agenda was in
Hmm.
2007. It consisted of almost more than 40 independent groups who came together and under the banner of, or under the umbrella of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Their agenda was against the state of Pakistan. They wanted to bring a Sharia kind of rule according to their interpretation in Pakistan. Afghan Taliban at that time were undertaking an insurgency against the US and NATO forces. The agenda of Afghan Taliban, though they are also a religious force, but their agenda was against the foreign occupation of their country. But somehow, ideologically, because they come from the same kind of background, they formed an alliance, and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan supported Afghan Taliban in their insurgency against US and NATO. Therefore, when Afghan Taliban came into power in the period which you are mentioning now, at that time, Pakistan was cognizant that Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan has been finding space and shelter and safe havens on Afghan soil during Ashraf Ghani government in the past years, and it will continue to have these opportunities if Afghan Taliban continue to support Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. And therefore, Pakistan's expectation at that time was that Afghan Taliban would realize Pakistan. Now they are controlling the state of Afghanistan, so they would realize Pakistan's concerns. They would appreciate Pakistan's concerns, and that is why you saw a flurry of visits between Pakistan and Afghanistan at that time. And Pakistan also hosted not only this meeting, but before that, we invited 4 special representatives of US, Russia, China,
Exactly.
and
In
Pakistan in
Islamabad.
Islamabad, where Afghan Foreign Minister Muttaqi was invited, and he came and he attended, and that was the first high-level visit of Muttaqi to any other country. So and then OIC summit, which you mentioned, which was specifically special OIC Foreign Ministers Conference, which was held for humanitarian assistance to Afghanistan. It is unfortunate that somehow these expectations which Pakistan had, that Afghan Taliban, who now control the Afghan state, would understand Pakistan's security concerns, and they will do something to rein in, to bring under control activities of terrorist activities of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. But in the subsequent months, or in the next several months, we saw despite a dialogue that was taking place between Pakistan's security officials and Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan commanders in Kabul, and I was there at that time too. Not in the dialogue, but we were watching the dialogue from outside. That somehow things would move towards some kind of normalization, integration of these people maybe in Pakistani society, those who adopt the agenda of peace and stability for Pakistan, and remain firm or continue to reaffirm Pakistan's constitutional status. But we saw that this dialogue between Pakistan and Tehreek-e-Taliban, which was held with the support of actually the Afghan Taliban leadership, when this dialogue was taking place between Pakistan's security officials and TTP, Afghan Interior Minister Sirajuddin Haqqani was actually personally supervising that dialogue. So all these efforts, unfortunately, did not bring the result which was expected by Pakistan. There are some compulsions also with Afghan Taliban, because they are also afraid that if they, sever their relations with TTP, then maybe TTP would have more closer connections with Daesh and with Al Qaeda and other terrorist groups, regional terrorist groups present on Afghan soil, and therefore there are some kind of they have always been very cautious for not going all out against Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. But the way TTP's attacks in recent years have increased against Pakistan, I think it is important that again Afghan Taliban, who are now in government, who represent the state of Afghanistan, will have to think seriously about their role in terms of support for the TTP, and how the Afghan soil is constantly being used against Pakistan for terrorism, while in Doha Agreement they had clearly agreed, in Doha Peace Agreement, that Afghan soil will not be used against any other country. So that is why I am saying that some kind of bilateral and regional dialogue has to be initiated to address this issue of terrorism cross-border terrorism, which can become a larger issue of regional terrorism or international terrorism.
This current Taliban administration is not an elected government. It is on record that it is an interim administration. So, what do you think that this interim administration could be replaced? Is this option? So, if it is replaced, then this biggest security challenge could be addressed, which is of Pakistan. There are scores of other religious and political elements and parties and leaders in Afghanistan. So this is one of the most important aspect. I need your comments on this. Is this option, Taliban regime change, viable?
I think my answer in principle is that it is the obligation or responsibility or prerogative of the Afghan people as to how they want to replace this government or any other government. So when we talk about the regime change, it should only, in principle, it should only take place with the consent of the people through the internal dynamics, not through external forces. Whenever an externally inspired or
Solution is
externally motivated effort for regime change takes place,
that bounce
we
back.
know that it always is counterproductive and it leads to very dangerous consequences. But the Afghan Taliban also have to think about this thing that they have been now been in power. They will be completing 5 years of their coming into power since 2021. In August 2026, and when they came into power, or even before that, they were in Doha process. Also, they have been engaged in an intra-Afghan political process to ensure that other representative forces are also there in according to Afghanistan's ground realities, according to Afghanistan's ethnic realities, according to Afghanistan's political realities. They should also be part of governance inside Afghanistan. So they should have by now evolved a constitutional framework. They should have evolved by now some kind of representative framework. Even if the countries are not democratic countries, we see in our world today many countries are not democratic countries having direct elections, but they have some form of
Exactly.
representative characteristics to have the confidence of the people. Now, over and above that, they have been again engaged in policies with which many Afghans are not happy, or a large number of common Afghans are not happy, like not allowing girls to go to receive education, not having media freedoms, not allowing women to work, and some other kind social and economic participative activities which are considered normal again under the in the contemporary international society are not being recognized there as a right in Afghanistan. So Afghan Taliban will have to think about that, and before the people of Afghanistan start thinking of how to deal with this situation or get violent in their thinking about this thing and this kind of situation through which they are going, there should be an internal thinking inside Afghanistan that how they should try to normalize situation in Afghanistan. So I think, but these are all internal issues of Afghanistan, and I think this is only Afghans should be thinking about them. I am in principle against any kind of external efforts for regime change in any country, whether it is in Afghanistan or in any other.
Is relocation of these terrorist hideouts is an option? And if these are relocated, then to what extent there could be reduction in terrorist attacks inside Pakistan? And there are reports that Afghan Taliban at one point in time, demanded 10 billion rupees from Pakistan for relocating these TTP hideouts from Pakistan-Afghanistan border.
When Pakistan and Afghanistan were engaged after August 2021, the officials of Pakistan's security officials and the officials of the Afghan interim government or the
They were
Taliban,
engaged.
they were engaged on how to combat the terrorist cross-border terrorism, particularly
mm,
by TTP or BLA or such other groups which are undertaking terrorist activities or which have been undertaking terrorist activities in recent years. Many options were being discussed because the
mm,
regular meetings were taking place of the joint border committee that was established by the two countries, and this committee was reviewing or examining all possible ideas and all possible proposals to address this issue of cross-border terrorism. Uh, Under the rubric of these committees, this joint border committee, one of the proposals was that these groups, which are actually having these camps on or
mm,
having their shelters on in the Afghan provinces along Pakistan border, they may be shifted to some other places which are far from the border, and therefore the
mm,
uh, possibility of undertaking terrorism will not be that easy for these groups. And but this was suggested as an ad hoc measure, and
mm,
initially some people were actually, I think it was Mangal Bagh group or some people, some fighters were also shifted, if I remember correctly. I am not 100% sure, but if I remember correctly, I think there was some progress on that issue. But then Pakistan Afghanistan engagement got scuttled because the engagement between the two governments or the channels of engagement were not that effective initially, and then they completely broke down. So after that, these proposals have not been considered. I'm not aware of
mm,
when interim government or any Afghan Taliban leader had demanded some kind of financial assistance or amount for shifting those. But these proposals were there that these people should be shifted as ad hoc measure from away from Pakistan's border, and then later some longer term solution should be found as to how to wean these people away from the terrorist activity against Pakistan. But at the same time, we have also continued see the renewed pledges by the Tehreek-e-Taliban leadership against Pakistan, and that they have been issuing statements against Pakistan's constitution. They have been issuing statements against Pakistani state. So they also have not, adopted a narrative which seems conciliatory. They instead have been their anti-Pakistan narrative has been intensifying and has been becoming more harsh with time. So I think the option these
mm,
kind of options, I believe, at the moment are not there, but these kind of options can only be discussed once the two states will have direct channels of communication. At the moment, the two states don't have any direct channels of communication. So
true.
first priority of the two countries or two governments, if they want to normalize the relations, have to be how to set the channels of communications. I think Saudi Arabia can be a very useful mediator between the two sides at this moment when the relations between the two countries are very difficult. Pakistan has very close relations with Saudi Arabia. Afghanistan also and Afghan Taliban also have close relations with Saudi leadership and have lot of faith in Saudi Arabia. So Saudi channel, I believe, can be very useful. And I think if I've been following recent developments, uh, since involvement of Saudi Arabia, some positive things were also gradually taking place in recent weeks, like the release of Pakistani soldiers and some exchange of political visits by Jamaat-e-Islami and JUI. So I think these kind of political channels should be reactivated once again, because military escalation is one way or can only
Mm,
deal with part of the problem. Political solution of the issue between Pakistan and Afghanistan will be
mm.
required. I'm not saying political talks with TTP, I'm saying political solution of the issue between
Issue.
Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Mm. How this leftover weapons issue could be addressed and how these weapons could be controlled? Do you think it is possible?
Basically, the US and NATO withdrawal from Afghanistan was not well organized. And we
Hmm.
saw that when, the Doha peace process was, and Doha peace agreement had been signed in February 2020. But 1.5 years later, when Taliban entered into Afghanistan, entire with the all the withdrawal of forces had not been completed, withdrawal of removal of equipment and weapons had not been
Hmm.
completed, and the last part of withdrawal and evacuations were quite messy. You may remember the scenes that we saw or the world saw on Kabul from planes flying from Kabul airport and people falling down from those airports. So these were really
Hmm.
messy, chaotic scenes. This indicates that while United States and NATO were actually contemplating withdrawal for past many years, but somehow their institutions had not undertaken requisite measures which were required for removing all the sensitive equipment, weapons, and also their troops in time. That is why when Taliban were taking provinces after provinces in July and August of 2021, whatever province they took or whatever American base or Afghan base they took, they acquired complete control of weapons as well as the prisoners that were being held there. And that is why, if you remember, uh, in whatever city they went, they opened the prisons and they released all the prisoners. And
Hmm.
many of these prisoners also were terrorists either from TTP or from Al Qaeda or from Daesh or from other terrorist organizations. And therefore, it was very difficult to keep the track of who went where. So
Hmm.
I think it was the withdrawal, these 2 years, 2020 and 2021, when United States had to and NATO had to close their mission in Afghanistan. They did not
Hmm.
do so in a very organized manner, and that is why then we see that a lot of weapons went to them, prisoners were released, and so many other aberrations which we saw, which should have been avoided. But I think, apart from this weapon, to continue an insurgency,
Hmm.
uh, groups like TTP or
Hmm.
other groups, ETIM or other
Exactly.
PLA or other
BLA
groups,
and other
must
groups.
PLA and other groups, Al Qaeda, Daesh, they must be receiving, I think, fresh weapons also from some sources. So this is not the only the cache of weapons left by United States and NATO is not the only source of weapon available with these terrorist groups. I think there are other suppliers, the detractors of peace, the detractors of Pakistan and Afghanistan. They are also providing funds and weapons to these terrorist
And that
groups.
could be India.
One of them could be India, yes.
Hmm.
All those who don't want that this
Stability
Pakistan-Afghan
in
border
Pakistan.
should be stabilized, should become stable, or Pakistan and Afghanistan should live peacefully. All those forces are supplying weapons, I think, to because all these these terrorist groups are using most sophisticated weapon in their while they are targeting civilians in Pakistan or while they are targeting security installations in security personnel and security installations in Pakistan. So I don't buy this argument sometimes that they are only relying on the
India.
weapons left by US and NATO during
Hmm.
2020 and
There
2021.
are other sources as well.
There must be other sources also.
So, just last one sentence. How do you see the future security scenario between Pakistan and Afghanistan, where things and situation is heading?
I think at the moment relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan are at a very low ebb. Let's admit that, and the
Hmm.
reason is the cross-border terrorism in Pakistan. For Pakistan, publicly, it is very difficult to take a position that they uh, they could easily normalize relations with Afghanistan unless the issue of terrorism is not addressed by the Afghan side. So, therefore, I think some kind of ice melting is required where the two countries
Hmm.
start an engagement, preferably direct engagement, open their security channels, open their other political channels, and try to address security issues as well as I think it is important to open borders so that normal trading activities and people's movement should also start, because the the people who are being affected due to trade are either Pakistani traders or Afghan traders, and they don't have anything to do with the terrorism. They are not responsible for the terrorism. So I think security should be addressed, but at the same time, borders should be opened. But if it
Hmm.
is, if melting the ice between the two countries directly is too
Hmm.
difficult, then I think channels of Saudi Arabia or
That should
China
be utilized.
should be used.
Thank you so much indeed. And today's takeaway that other than leftover American weapons and other than India, there are other suppliers of weapon and financial support to terrorist organizations in Afghanistan, which is a very, very serious point of concern and that needs to be addressed. Thank you so much indeed, Ambassador Mansoor Ahmed Khan, Pakistan's former ambassador to Afghanistan, for extremely insightful conversation on current security scenario in Pakistan and Afghanistan in the wake of Pakistan's military strikes against terrorist outfits and terrorist leaders based in Afghanistan. Dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you, Mateen sir.